Hello there and welcome back for my videos about the project Family Organizer. And I am thinking a lot about how we can create the Koa API, and I really try to figure out how it's working and how the best way will be, but I have the conclusion about I really don't like how the node working with the API. I think probably maybe I'm too old developer to accept the way it's working on, or it's because I'm not really understand it right away. It could be a combination, but what I figure out I want to do now, it's building in a Python like I've done with the project socket chat, and I will create it in a Docker container, so you basically just can create this code and an API and spin it up with the container in your Docker environment, or you can run it where you want. But I think I will design the project a little bit up, so the only thing you need to install on your host or on your computer to test it out is the Docker Desktop or the Docker Community Edition. If you don't know what Docker is and how it's working, you can see the other videos I have. I have a lot of Docker content you can watch and learn about, and of course push the comments if you don't understand my videos or you have a feedback from me. But the first we want to do in this video here, it's basically to create the roots here, the users with the get and post and the post and put, and then we need the system status verify on the should be returned false and true. So we will create a very easy way here. So the rest of this code here will be code in Python. So let's open up our Python editor here and let's continue up. My Python editor is PyCharm. You can have the community edition, it's free, or you can buy the pro user, it's not free. It's cost a little bit a year, but as a developer I really love the payment the way, and I use WebStorm too, so yeah, that's fine for me. You can use a lot of editors for Python. What I will show you here, it's the package I've built the environment for Python in the level deeper. You can see I can say show all here. It's a little bit easier, and then we can say where it should be. You can see I have my family organizer server here. That's what we want to work, and then we have the family organizer, that's the client, and then we later, not in this video but probably in the next video, we will create the family organizer, the Docker compose, where we have everything about the Docker and the submodules for the family organizer and the family organizer server. But for now, I would say we have the environment for Python here in a sub directory in the one level deeper. So we still have everything about the code in the family organizer server, and then we have the environment for Python in another directory. And you can see here we have a little bit installed, so let's remove this. That's fine. And that's because if you have the environment inside the folder you work with, and you deploy the Docker environment, then you will discover very weird stuff, because the environment is close to a system. In this case I'm using Windows to record on, and then my server is a Debian or Ubuntu. Then it's not the same code it's using to run Python. So I recommend you to have it in other folder. And then I want to create the Docker file. That's you need to have one, and we say it's don't ask again, and we want to code in Python 3.8. That's what we want to code. Maybe I will upgrade the Python version in the future, but for now it's 3.8. And then we want to copy a file called requirements, and we want to put it inside to the temp, and we want to copy this to the requirements files. Is the file when we install the package in Python, and then we can freeze the versions down on a file, and based on that we will know when we want to install the version live. Let's say the Flask is 1.1, and then 1 year ago it's coming at 2.0. Then we know in this project we only use 1.1, and then we don't need to take care about any kind of new features or old features going away, and that's one. So that's a very nice thing. And then we say pip install, and we want to install the requirements files, and then we add the entry point. What we want to run with the entry point is Python, and then we need to run a command, and the command should be app.py. The app.py we can create it now, of course, and then we have the file ready, and then we can create the file requirements. Now we need to package from Python. We will say pip install Flask, that would be the first one, and Flask install different packages, Ginger and Click and something like that. And then we need, because we're working with a JSON way, and we probably want to use Mongo, or not probably, I can be sure we will use Mongo for this project too. So then we need to install pymongo. And when this is done, we can say, just take a little bit, but then we want to freeze it out. Say pip freeze, and then we say requirements. And then you can see we have all the versions locked down here. Basically we have the Flask 1.1.1, and that's meaning we will never change this version, only if we upgrade this version in the future. Now I will create the folder structure we want to use here, and I will use library. And the library I will use because that's where I want to place all my code. And then I want to have a folder called Flask, and it's not a requirement you do it this way, but for me personally it's working pretty good to organize all the Flask files inside Flask classes, where you put it inside this folder, and that's working pretty good for me. And if you don't like it, yeah, it's up to you. You don't should do this if you don't like it. And now we need two files. We need users, because we need to build users functions, and then we need the system. And from the first one we want to do, it's the users, and from this we want to say the Flask import response, and then we need the from JSON and JSON utility import DOMs. And DOMs I want to use because every time we respond something to the client, I will send it out to JSON, and I know Python have the built-in JSON dumps and loads inside, but for me I really love to work with the base on JSON utility, because when you're going over to the Mongo, you can basically export a Mongo object from database directly to JSON. You can't do that with the built-in JSON, so for me the base in JSON utility is working pretty good. And then we want a class. I will call it Flask users, and inside here I want a static method, and call it user. And what we do here, it's response, and the response is dumps, and inside here I'll say status okay, and then code 200, and then we need the mem type, and this should be text, JSON, and the last thing we need is sending the status code out to the browser. And then we need us in the system, and it's basically the same. the difference is the system here, and then I want another function called status verify, and then we basically have the same code, and that's working pretty good. Now the time is coming to the application where we need to combine everything, and the first we want to do is import OS, and the OS we want to use to load the system environment variables, because that's what we want to work with when we have a Docker environment. If you don't have a Docker environment and only want to use the code here and run it in the directly standalone visual environment, or on the side on your already virtual host outside, you can make a Linux file to export all the environments. So don't worry, you can do the same like me. And then we need the Flask and import the Flask environment, and we need the libraries Flask and users, and then we need the Flask users, and we need the same from library, library Flask system, and then Flask system here. And then we need a prefix. I can see here prefix path is equal to get environment, and then we need to say the family organizer prefix UL, and if you don't set anything, you need to say API. So if you don't have the system environment set, I will use the prefix here. And then we need the app is equal to Flask, and we say the name. We could define this as we want. It's the process name, and then we need to add UL here. And this could see a little bit different if you have worked with Flask before, but that's because I want to bind a static method inside in a class, so that's why I'm using this way. And then we need the prefix and the users, and the view function should be Flask users and then users, and the methods we want to support should be get, post, and put, and this should be an app here. And then we need a system status verify, and what we want to use here should be Flask system here and status verify, and the only thing we want to do here it's a get command. And then I will say if name is equal to main, then we need to spin up the application, and the debug should be OS get environment family. Let's take this. I don't want to type this every time. Let me say debug. If it's not set, we want to say false, and I will cast it to Boolean. And then we have a host. We want to support everyone, so what we want to do here is to copy the system environment and say the host. If you don't have set any host, should be this one. And I think that's it for now. Let's try to run the command down here and see what's happening. You can see the debug mode is off, and we know that. And in the browser we can try to test to localhost 5000. Should we do this? I think it. So let's open one more and say localhost 5000, and it's nothing working, but let's say users. We still don't have anything, so say system status verify. I think that's not correct too. And I know why. Whoops. Because we have a prefix, so we need the API here. And that's working fine. And we have the users, and that's working fine. And yeah, that's it. That's the video from now. I really hope you enjoy, and I hope you want to follow this project too. And please make comments down in the comment fields if you have any comments and questions. And of course, I hope you want to subscribe to this channel. In the next video, I promise you I'll work with the Docker Compose YAML file, so it's working, so we can spin up a Docker container. I'll show how that's working. But for now, you have the very basic, and we have working with this API, and we are ready to continue in the next step. And again, sorry for the late reply for this project. As I say, I've really thinking about what I should do, and I'm really trying to work with the Koa as a primary project in the Nuxt, but for me personally, I don't think that's fitting in my my workflow. So I really love Python, so that's why I'm using this. So thank you so much for watching this video, and remember, you can always download all the source code on my GitHub profile, and I hope you want to follow me on GitHub too. Thank you so much, and see you next time.